How much should you charge as a graphic designer? If you've ever opened up your quote template, stared at the screen and thought, is this quote too expensive or am I charging too little? You're definitely not alone. Pricing graphic design is one of those challenging parts of freelancing, especially when you're comparing yourself to other designers online. One person says charge $50 an hour, another says never work less than $200, someone else says never charge hourly at all, and suddenly you're more confused than when you first started quoting. There's no universal price list for graphic design. A logo isn't always worth the same amount, and a brochure isn't always the same price. Two designers can charge completely different rates for the exact same type of project. So instead of asking, what does everyone else charge? There's a better question to ask. What should you charge based on the work you do and the value you bring? One of the biggest pricing mistakes designers can make, and honestly I've done this as well, is pricing emotionally. You want the project, you don't want to sound too expensive, there's the possibility that someone else comes in and does it cheaper, so you lower the quote before the client has even responded. But the client isn't just paying you to move things around in Illustrator or InDesign. They're paying you for your thinking, your experience, your communication, and your ability to solve problems and make something work visually and strategically. That's the real value you bring. And pricing gets a lot easier when you stop thinking about design as time spent and start thinking about the level of responsibility you're taking on. So if you're wondering how much to charge, think about pricing through these three lenses. Firstly, your level of experience. Someone who's been designing for 5 to 10 plus years with a solid process, proven outcomes, and confidence in delivery probably shouldn't charge the same as someone who's still learning design. That's not a judgment, it's just reality. Experience reduces the risk for the client. Often what the client's paying for is confidence that the project will be delivered properly. Secondly, how complex is the project? Is it a simple social graphic for a local business? Well, that's very different to a 100-page annual report with multiple stakeholders, rounds of feedback, and print coordination. It's the same profession, but a completely different level of responsibility. When there's more moving parts, that generally means more time, more thinking, more communication, and more risk. And third, what's actually at stake for the client? If you're helping someone put together a flyer for a local event, that's one thing. But if you're designing materials for an investor presentation, a major exhibition stand, annual report, or a national campaign, the business impact and pressure is much higher, and pricing should reflect that. So instead of copying random numbers from the internet, try thinking about projects like this. If it's a small one-off social graphic, it's probably going to be a lighter quote. A brand identity for an established company, well, that's a higher level of strategy, thinking, and responsibility, so it'd be a bit more. A detailed publication or report with charts, stakeholder reviews, and production management, well, that's not just putting text on pages, there's a lot more involved. So again, probably a bit higher. So this is where designers can accidentally underquote. You can't just bundle everything together and hope the project stays profitable. You need to think about the actual cost of delivering the work. For example, if you're designing a publication, have you accounted for stock image licensing, image retouching, creating custom infographics, subscription fees to generative AI tools or other tools you might need, mock-ups, couriers, site visits, transport, consultation time? These are project-specific costs that don't always neatly fit into generic design fees. And then there's the thing about working files. If a client requests editable package files at handover, is that included or is that something additional? There's no universal answer, but these are the kinds of things worth thinking about before you send the quote, not halfway through when the project's scope starts expanding. Because the difference between a profitable project and one that's stressful is often in the details you forget to account for. So if you're struggling with pricing as a graphic designer, here's probably the biggest takeaway I can offer. Stop asking, what does everyone else charge? And start asking these questions. What level of experience am I bringing? How complex is this project? What's actually at stake for the client? What will this project realistically require me to deliver? And how do I make this project profitable, not just break even? Pricing gets a lot easier when you stop guessing and start thinking more strategically. If this video helped, like and subscribe for more thoughts on the business of freelance design. Thanks for watching.